recording. And campus partners, if you would like to introduce yourselves and take it away.
Hello, my name is Eric Anderson. I'm Director of Student Financial Services.
I'm Diana Rico. I'm a financial aid advisor.
Okay, so I'll start us off and share my screen. We have a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll be sharing a website as part of that. Okay, so again, I'm from Student Financial Services, which is comprised of Bursar, student accounts, parking services, and campus card, which is where your ID card comes from. So where are we? What do we do? Where are we located? We're on the second floor of the Stony Brook Union, right next to financial aid and right next to the registrar's office. We do a number of things, including present a bill to you and take your payments. We issue refund checks if you have more aid or payments than you need to pay your charges. We distribute parking hang tags. Those of you who will be commuter students will be getting a parking hang tag from us so you can park on campus. We distribute your campus ID card. So you'll get your ID card during your orientation, and if you ever lose it, you can come to the office. Aside from the first invoices for fall and spring, invoices are generally issued mid-month, right around the 16th or 17th of each month, and they're due the 15th of the following month. The e-bills are sent to your stonybrook.edu email account. This is very important. You really have to check your stonybrook.edu account monthly. And hard copy invoices are sent only for delinquent accounts at the end of the term. So if you have a balance you haven't paid that you owe to the university, that's the only time you'll get a hard copy invoice. So you have to check your stonybrook.edu email account. As far as invoices are concerned, we typically issue the first fall invoice the first week of July. It's due August 15th. Winter, typically issued in December. Spring, we'll issue this in December as well with a due date of January 15th. Summer 1 and Summer 2 are issued separately for the summer terms, but that's a long way away for any of you who are registering for your first terms in the fall. Holds and late fees. This is very important. If you don't pay your invoice by the 15th of the month, usually you'll get a late fee and a hold applied to your account. We don't put holds on for the August 15th due date for new students, which would be anybody on this call. The reason being, it's not a very good way to enter the university, and it would restrict your movement in your classes. So if you are swapping classes in and out before the first day of classes, we don't want to put a hold and restrict that movement, but we will put late fees and holds later on in the semester. SUNY policy limits us to $50 per late fee, not to exceed $200 per semester. So that is the maximum amount of late fees you will accrue should you not pay your bill on time. And holds are applied automatically for past due balances over 100. So if you have a small amount of money that you'll owe the university, we won't put a hold on the account. Anything over 100 will result in a hold. And that will prevent you from registering for a future term or obtaining your diploma. Liability, this is also very important. If you are dropping below full-time or removing all of your classes and withdrawing from the university, you will potentially be liable for tuition and fees based on when you withdraw. And I'll get to that in a minute with the exact calendar. But if you have any doubt about whether or not you will owe money after withdrawing from a class, it's best to contact my office and we will tell you yes or no based on when you plan to withdraw. And that calendar is right here. So for fall 22, for all students, not just undergraduates, but if you withdraw from any class below full-time on or before August 28th, there's no charge. No harm, no foul, nothing will be billed to you. And then week by week, it increases. So if you withdraw the week after, you will owe 30% of your tuition and fees, up to 50, 70, and then eventually 100. So if you withdraw after September 19th, you won't get any of your money back. You'll still be charged full-time for those classes. And that's SUNY policy. So where do you go for your tuition and fees, your course fees, all the things that you might have to pay? stonybrook.edu/SFS, Student Financial Services. This has the most up-to-date information, and I'll take you to the website in a few minutes. This is really where you want to go for your rate charts, which look a lot like this. So for undergraduate students, we have in the left-hand column tuition and all the fees that you might be charged. And then we have by credit all the way up to full-time. So 12 credits or more, this right-hand column is where you're going to go. Now, I'll show you on the website, but there is health insurance listed right here for $2,000 and change. If you have your own health insurance through your parents or through the open registry, you really need to submit your health insurance waiver so you're not charged thousands of dollars each semester for insurance that you don't need. So also, This is a reminder, check your bill, check your stonybrook.edu account. If you're not checking your bill, you don't know what you're being charged. And there could be some things that need to be addressed. So on to past due balances. What happens if a balance is past due? Well, you get that hold that stops you from registering for a future term. You do not want to come up to early enrollment in the fall semester, have your classes planned out and your schedule set up, and then realize that you owe money and you can't register for classes during your appointment time. That is not a good feeling. So you really want to pay attention to your holds. They appear on your solar account. On the top left-hand corner, you'll see holds. If you have one, it will appear there. So if you don't pay the balance by the end of the semester, you will get what's called a hard copy Section 18 invoice, which is basically a physical letter, and it has what's called a Section 18, which is New York State finance law. And it says if you don't pay this balance within 90 days, you will be assessed up to 22% in interest and fees. It's quite a lot of money, especially if you owe a lot of money to the university. This is SUNY policy and state finance law. We are required to do this. Let's see. Again, 90 days afterwards, that's when the balance must be paid. If you have a past due balance at the end of the semester and you don't pay it off within 90 days, one of two things will happen. If you owe less than $10,000, which will be the case for most students who are a New York State resident, you'll be sent to a third-party collections agency and they'll try and solicit payment from you. If you owe more than $10,000, many of our out-of-state students will owe more than $10,000 if they're living on campus. They go straight to the Attorney General's office, and that's state finance law as well. We really don't want to send any student to collections, so we try and reach out as much as possible. Email, phone calls, solar messages. We're here to help. Really want you to reach out and speak to us about any unpaid balances that you have. So how to contact us, how to reach out to us. During the fall and spring semesters, our counter operations are open Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Tuesdays, we close at 3:30. The phones for my office are available Monday through Friday, 10 to 3. Live chat, online chats is available from 9 to 3:34, 3:35. There's our website as well. The fastest way to receive a response is live chat. Live chat is staffed by members of my own office. We don't farm this out to a third-party agency. It's not a robot. You are dealing with an actual human who is trained by my staff. Next year's rates. So everybody wants to know what the rates will be for next year, tuition and fees. How much am I going to pay? We don't know yet. Tuition and fees are approved by the SUNY Board of Trustees, and it usually arrives in June. We are in June right now. We don't have approval yet. So when we do get approval, the rates will be updated on stonybrook.edu/SFS. And I'll show you exactly where they will be shown. Move over to here. So this is the Student Financial Services website. This is where all of your information concerning your charges, your payments, your refunds, and things should come from. Everybody's financial position is different. So if you have a roommate or a friend or a classmate who got a refund or got charged a certain amount of money and you didn't, don't assume that your bill is wrong or their bill is wrong. Reach out to us and ask questions. So you'll see spring 22 full-time tuition and fees hasn't been updated because we don't know what the fall rates are. When we do, this homepage will be updated with these rates for New York State resident and New York State non-New York State residents. Also, you'll see the liability chart for fall 22. A couple other things to note on this website. If you need information about paying your bill, you can click here for billing and payment. We have some FAQs down here. How do I make a payment? How often will I receive notification of my balance? There's a lot of information here. Tuition and fees. This is where your detailed rate charts are. So if you're an undergraduate, you would click here, and then your updated rate chart for fall 22 will appear when we know what those rates are. This includes information about your broad-based fees, which are your comprehensive fees like technology, recreation, athletics, and your required health insurance. So just an example, if you have your own health insurance, you do not want to pay $1,600 for the fall or $2,300 for the spring. These rates usually go up every year, so they might go up for fall 22. We link out to housing and meal plans. We link out to housing and meal plans. You can get information there. And for our international students, there's information about your international student health insurance. Also, if you are an international student and you're making an international payment, click here. We partner with Flywire. Flywire is the only partner that we have vetted to process international payments. I know there are other companies that do this. Flywire is our only approved method for Stony Brook University. So if you have questions about how to pay through Flywire, you can go here, or you can contact them directly. Their customer service is truly excellent. And in most cases, they have customer service agents available to speak to you in your native language. Parking services, again, if you're a commuter student, you might want to click here and link out to parking services. It can be a bit confusing if you're a new student coming onto campus. If you are a commuter, you cannot get a parking pass yet because you haven't enrolled in classes. When you do enroll, and later in August, about the second week of August, we will be opening up the parking pass request page. That is when you can request your commuter pass and have it mailed to you, or you can choose to pick it up. Campus card, you will be receiving, if you haven't already, an email that invites you to submit a selfie. That will be used for your ID photo, provided it is appropriate and it is clear. So there are some rules to follow. You'll see that in the email. That comes from my office as well. We do not mail out the campus cards. You'll get it during orientation. We have some forms here, withdrawals and refunds. This is an important page if you drop classes or drop below full-time. New York State residency. I will remind you, check the bill that you get. Because if you are billed as an out-of-state student and you believe you are a New York State student, you need to submit a residency appeal. And there are documents that you will need to submit to us by a certain deadline. For example, deadline for the fall is August 17th. So we're going to issue you a bill in early July, provided that you've registered for classes already. Check the bill, make sure it matches what you think is your residency, New York State, non-New York State. Financial responsibility, this is a copy of the financial responsibility statement you will have to electronically agree to when you register for your classes. So if you're ever curious about what it says, it's basically right here. And it says, if you don't pay your balance, you understand you will be sent to collections, there will be fees, you're responsible for all of the things that are on your bill, health insurance, charges and waivers, things like that. And then over here, very important, live chat and contact. So if you ever want to live chat with a member of my staff, all you have to do is click on this link. Now, live chat is closed today because it's after 4 o'clock, but if you go and click on this link, a little window will pop up right down here that says, do you want to chat? And then one of my staff members will reach out and engage you in chatting about whatever questions you may or may not have. It'll also tell the staff if you are returning to a chat or visiting us again within a certain number of days. So if you have constant questions, we'll know, and we'll be able to pull up your information on your account and your history and help you out. Again, here are hours during the summer. We close at 4 during the summer. We have phones, in person, email. We really can be reached in many, many different ways. If you do want to send an email, we're trying to transition our students into using this form. The reason being, the form will sort the topic for us and send the email directly to the staff member that is most suited to answer that question. So if you have a direct deposit question, parking or holds, refund request, that'll go to different staff members in the office. So if you use this, it's just as fast, if not faster, than a traditional email to the department. Let's see. So that's all that I have for PowerPoint and the walkthrough of the website. I'm going to look at some questions here. From the Q&A, I'm still unsure whether to be a boarder or commuter. When do I decide? When is it too late to deposit for housing? So the housing deposit has closed as of now. If you haven't made your housing deposit and you're interested in living on campus, you need to get on the wait list. You would contact campus residences, and I would do that soon. Okay. Let's see. Are the emails about the campus ID still being sent? I have not received one. They are still being sent, yes. So that will wind up in your inbox at some point in the near future. When are we supposed to sign up for classes as a freshman? During orientation. I believe that's still the process, right? During orientation, you're signing up? Okay, great. So yeah, you'll be helped and guided through that process. Are payments paid at the beginning or end of the semester? Beginning. So if you're registering for classes in the next day or two during orientation, you will get an invoice in early July. That is due August 15th. If you're not registered before like July 10th, so if you have a late orientation or for some reason you haven't registered and you want to delay it, then you'll get an invoice in August. It'll be due in September. But the billing notification email sent to your stonybrook.edu account will give you the information you need. It'll tell you how much you owe, how to pay, and when it's due. So check your Stony Brook account. Let's see. when can students living on campus purchase parking passes? That's going to be in early August. So there will be an email that goes out, and also the website will open up. So stonybrook.edu/parking. You click on parking permits. In mid-August, it'll allow you to request that. If you are living on campus as a freshman, you're most likely not going to get a parking pass. You have to have junior status to get a parking pass. There are two ways that you can get an exception, which is if you have a medical need or if you are working off campus. Now, the working off campus, you have to have pay stubs from your employer, and it has to be local. So if you're working up at Niagara Falls, that's not going to fly. It has to be a local employer, and you have to have pay stubs. For medical, those requests are reviewed by a member of the campus health services. So a medical professional will review your appeal and decide what permit is most appropriate for you, if any. So not reviewed by my office, but we will forward those over. Those forms are available on stonybrook.edu/parking, that website. Otherwise, you need a junior status to have an on-campus parking pass. And that is a non-negotiable matter. And you have to have completed enough credits to be a junior status. So you can't enter as a sophomore if you have a bunch of transfer credits or high school AP credits. You can't enter as a sophomore and say, I'm taking enough classes this semester to be junior. They need to be completed. When do we start paying for housing? As soon as the bill comes in. That'd be great if you could do that. I will add that if you want to pay in installments and not have one lump sum get paid to the university by August 15th, you can sign up for the time option payment plan. Time option payment plan divides up your payments into 4 installments. It's $50 to enroll. The $50 is non-refundable, and you have to enroll every semester. So when you want to pay your bill, you go and click on the links to your Solar account. You click on Campus Financial Services, My Account, What Do I Owe? We call it the What Do I Owe page. At the bottom of the What Do I Owe page, you'll click Make a Payment. Then when you are on the payment page, you can choose to enroll on top. And that's when you would enroll on top, and you would then pay 1/4 of your total amount due. When are scholarships deducted from my balance? That's a great question, and it does tie into financial aid. Basically, if financial aid is aware of your scholarships, it's shown on your account. So any financial aid like loans, scholarships, grants, all of that stuff, if financial aid is aware that you are getting it before the bill is generated, then it'll show as anticipated aid. Means you're going to get it, but it's not physically here yet. Anticipated aid, it will reduce the amount you owe. So if your charges equal 10,000, but you have scholarships and loans equal to 5,000, it'll say 10,000 minus 5, total amount due that you owe is $5,000. You have to be communicative and let financial aid know. The fees differ for everyone, correct? Well, yes and no. So if you're a New York State resident enrolled in 12 credits and you're a commuter student, typically your fees will be the same as another New York State resident who's commuting and not living on campus. There might be some course fees. Like if you're taking pottery, you're gonna have to pay a little bit extra for clay. That's a good example of that. If taking photography classes, you might have to pay extra for film. That is built into the fee. It'll be displayed on your bill and it'll say, pottery 101 course fee. But typically, the same for most people. Who do we contact the housing deposit? You would contact campus residences. And I'm sure the helpers can give some advice on what email to directly email. How do we submit tuition payments? Thank you. How do we submit tuition payments via a 529 account? Is there a mailing address available? Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen again and tell you something very important about that. All right, so you are going to mail things to here. P.O. Box 619. If you are paying with a 529, there's 2 things you need to be aware of. If you call up your 529 provider on the 13th of August and say, my bill is due in 2 days, can you get a check out to Stony Brook? They'll say, we're on it. We'll send it right away. That doesn't mean it's going in the mail right away. It typically takes 5 to 10 business days for us to receive that check after you request it from your 529. So when you get your bill, if you're paying with a 529, call them up immediately and make the request for payment, because if we don't physically have the check, then it's late and subject to late fees. And you have to mail it to P.O. Box 619. This post office box is my office's post office box. We are the only office that has it. If you mail it to Stony Brook University, 100 Nichols Road, it's going to take days or weeks to get to us because that's the central receiving office where a lot of mail goes for Stony Brook. P.O. Box 619, Stony Brook, New York, 11790-0619 for 529 payments. How do we submit? So covered top, covered international payments, covered 529. Let me check the chat here. See if I missed any. When can we pay for the meal plans? The meal plans will be reflected on your invoice, same as your housing. So it'll say housing, meal plan. It'll be itemized out in your invoice. You'll see tuition, all of your charges itemized, housing, meal plan. So it's due when everything else is due. When can students living on campus purchase parking passes? Again, you have to be a junior, have junior status. There is no charge currently for a parking pass. So if you are enabled or if you're allowed to get one because of your status or again, working or medical exemption, there is no charge for that. There is a charge for a citation if you don't have a pass. So if you're planning on bringing a car to campus as a freshman and like risking it, you're going to get a lot of parking tickets. And eventually, if you don't pay those parking tickets, you will get a boot. And the cost of the boot is hundreds of dollars. Stephanie, you're smiling like this happened to you or you know someone. It's not a fun experience. Let's see. When do we sign up for work study? Great question. I will defer to financial aid for that. The meal plans can be paid on solar. Great. So that's answered. 529, that's answered. When do we start getting bills to start paying? You'll get it early July. Early July in your stonybrook.edu email account. Again, we don't send hard copy invoices unless you haven't paid and it's the end of the semester. So July, August, September, October, only emails and only solar messages. When are holds and fees applied? Typically September. The late fee for a freshman won't go on in August. And again, we don't put holds on in August because people are adding and dropping and swapping classes and that would stop them from doing that. I submitted the health insurance waiver, but it says it is on file for 2021 academic year. I'm an incoming freshman, incoming transfer student. Is my waiver submitted for the next semester? I don't know. The waivers don't get processed through my office. They're processed through the Faculty Student Association. So you should have gotten an email that says, please submit a waiver of request or please submit your health insurance information for the waiver. If you got that email, go back to that email. It'll include contact information for who to call or email about your waiver. If you're a commuter, is parking fine then? So yeah, but you need a pass. Everybody has to have a pass if they have a car on campus, whether you're a commuter or a faculty staff member, you need it. And then we will open up the parking pass request page in early to mid-August. What about athletic purposes? My team has practices off campus, so I need a car to get there. I'm not sure that's going to work out for you. It's not a medical or a work exemption. I don't see you getting a parking pass for a team unless if you're part of an on-campus Stony Brook team. That might be a different story. You'd have to talk to athletics, but typically you wouldn't get a pass for that.
Thank you so much, Eric. We're going to shift over to Deanna if you want to present and share about financial aid, and keep the questions coming. These are great questions. Again, feel free to pop them in the chat or the Q&A, and we will continue answering them throughout. There we go. Perfect.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank God. Okay, now, so welcome students. This is the financial aid orientation. Okay, some of you might be aware of some financial aid information. So we will just go very basically as to how financial aid works and how we communicate with the students. Okay, we do everything through solar. Okay, this is what the solar would look like. You would go to the homepage on solar. On the top left-hand corner, you see to-do list. So if we need anything, it will be through the solar portal. So this is what it would look like. Then you're gonna see these titles. Is active or received. That means that you don't have to do anything. We're waiting for something else. Okay, so no action is required from the student. If it says resubmit or not received, you definitely have to get, do whatever is that we need. Okay, immediate action is required. Okay, otherwise your financial aid is not going to be able to be packaged. For those who get a notified, it's usually related to a resubmit or a reason why something was not good enough. So it will give you, it will be an email and it will tell you the reasons as to why we need something else. Okay, and this is what the to-do list would look like. Then in order for you, the easiest way for you to submit any documentation that we are requesting is through the hyperlink. You click on it and it tells you how to upload the documentation. You can upload it, you can fax it, you can bring it in, mail it in. But this is the fastest way because it goes directly into your file. Okay. Then for those of you whose financial aid may not be enough to cover the charges, we have something called filling in the gap. Okay. Now, this is from the bursar's office where you can pay through either with a credit card or checks. Eric went over that, where you can send the checks. Then this is also what he went over that with the payment plan. And here we go. So we have the Parent Plus loan. Okay, the Parent Plus loan is a federal loan where the parents are taking out the loan for the students and it's based on credit and it has an origination fee. Okay, the interest is fixed and the interest is listed on the application. Right now, for the coming year, the interest went up to 7.54% for those of you who might be interested. Okay, the repayment for the Parent Plus loan begins 60 days after the final disbursement. There is the option to defer the payments while the student is enrolled in school. However, you would have to speak to the servicer to make arrangements for that deferment. You can borrow up to the cost of attendance as indicated on Solar, and you can apply by semester or the academic year. We recommend that you do it by the academic year. So number one, your credit check is being done only once. And secondly, you do it in the fall. So by the time the spring semester comes, everything will be ready and the monies will come in and you won't have to do anything else. And for those parents whose Parent Plus loan gets denied, the student can get an additional unsubsidized loan for $4,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, depending on the grade level the student has. Okay. Then there's also the private loans. The private loans, the student can apply for a private loan. That now you have the private and the Parent Plus. The private is offered by private lenders. Okay. If you need, if you want to know who to choose, we have stonybrook.edu/FinAid gives you a list of lenders that we have. Okay. With private, the difference between private loans and Parent Plus loans, usually any federal loans has lower interest than private loans. The private loans are through lenders, banks. So if you have to choose between a Parent Plus and a private loan, you better work with a Parent Plus loan because the interests are better and the repayments are, the government makes a decision on the repayment. So right now, for instance, there's a moratorium on interest payments until August. Private loan would never do that. So if you have to choose, you better work with the Parent Plus. Obviously, if you need it, obviously you can take it. You can go to our website and stonybrook.edu/FinAid, as I said before, and it will give you the list of lenders that participate. And once again, for more information for Parent Plus or private loans, you can go to our website, stonybrook.edu/FinAid. Now, for those students who need help determining the amount of money to borrow, either for the Parent Plus or the private loan, a private loan is also called an alternative loan. There are helpful calculators locating at the bottom or filling in the gap on our webpage. Keep in mind that you can combine options. You can do Parent Plus and a payment plan, whatever works for you, depending on obviously on your financial situation. So we give you an example here that if you have a remaining balance of $6,000 after accepting all your financial aid, you can apply for a Parent Plus for an amount of $3,000 and sign up for the time option payment plan for the additional $3,000, or whichever way works for you. Okay. Then for the tuition assistance program, or TAP, okay, this is specifically for New York State residents going to New York State schools. Okay. The easiest way to apply is through the FAFSA. At the end of the application, you have the option to check off, yes, do you want to apply for your state aid? You can do it. If you exited the FAFSA before completing the TAP section, New York State will send you an email. HESC will send you an email if you have written a New York State address going to a New York State school. But even if you don't have an email from HESC, you can always apply. Okay, you can go to hesc.ny.gov/TAP. You scroll down and it says apply now. So you can always apply even if you didn't do it. And the sooner you do it, the better. So because it does take New York State a while to respond. So the sooner you do it, the better off. So it can be on your bill before it's due. The eligibility for TAP is you have to be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen, be a legal resident of New York State for at least a year prior to the start of the term, enrolled in an approved program of study at a New York State post-secondary institution, be matriculated, which means you're going towards a degree, not be in default on any student loan, not exceed the income limitations established by the program, enroll as a full-time student, taking 12 or more credits applicable towards a degree. Your primary major is your major. The DEC was actually a diversified curriculum requirement, but that's only for students who were here before 2014. So I don't think it applies to any of the students here. And the SBC, which is the Stony Brook curriculum requirements. Okay. And you would need to have at least 12 degree applicable credits. Okay. It is important that you do not get a GMPC, which is grade pass or no credit, or withdraw from the class to be considered full-time. An important thing to keep in mind with TAP is that you have to have 12 degree applicable credits to be considered a full-timer. So if you were to be enrolled for, let's say, 15 credits, but only 9 credits are degree applicable, New York State is not going to consider you a full-timer and you're not going to get TAP. Okay, even though you're full-timers for for the university. And here is the website, okay, www.hesc.ny.gov. Okay. With the TAP certification summary page, it's ideal so that you know exactly where you stand with TAP. There's also Degree Works. It gives you all the classes that you're enrolled for. With the TAP certification summary, on the other hand, is specific to TAP. It's an effort to provide TAP recipients or applicants with means to gauging their progress towards meeting a New York State criteria for TAP eligibility. We have developed the TAP certification summary page on Solar. So on Solar, as I said before, everything is done through Solar. You go to the TAP summary and it will tell you what classes are or are not degree applicable for TAP. Students or advisors will find this page helpful during registration when TAP recipients must select a minimum of 12 credits that are required for either their majors or SBC requirements. The students are strongly encouraged to make all registration changes 2 days prior to the deadline. This will ensure their course of enrollment can be viewed and confirm the 12 degree applicable credits, which is what you have to have. Okay. Then once again, for more information, you can visit our website, stonybrook.edu/FNAID, or you can go to HESC.ny.gov. Now, for those of you who we have this Money Smart Seawolves, okay, the mission is to help students, faculty, and staff with knowledge on how they can make sound financial decisions. The information on this website will teach you how to manage, save, invest your money, provide you with the proper skills, and make decisions when it comes to taking out a loan or credit card, and to guide you through some of the most important financial decisions you will have to make outside the classroom. So this is to not just teach you about financial aid, but teach you real life situations, credit cards, loans, so you know exactly what you're doing and making an educated decision. Okay, so if you have further questions, you can always email us at fnaid@stonybrook.edu. Our phone number is 631-632-6840, and the fax 631-632-9525. Okay, our office hours, you should go to our website, just because right now we're like in summer hours, so the office closes at 4 o'clock. During the regular year, it closes at 5 o'clock. So we'll update it, if we need anything, it's on our website, phone numbers, emails, etc. And someone had a question about work study. Work study is asked through the FAFSA, okay? And being that we have very little funding, we consider those students who applied for the FAFSA before the February 15th deadline. And obviously you would have to be eligible, and we have to have the funding. That's it. And stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay.
Thank you so much, Deanna. I have a couple kind of frequently asked questions that we can go over in the next kind of 10 minutes before we wrap up. Eric, feel free to jump in if you feel like you also know the answer, but just so we can make sure we get general questions answered for students and families and everything like that. But one of the questions is, what are the typical ways that students cover the cost of their college tuition?
Okay, so going back to the FAFSA, you have Pell loans, which are subsidized, unsubsidized, that are given to by the students, and Parent Plus loan, which I mentioned, the private loan, and for New York State students, the TAP, if you're not a New York State resident, you won't be able to get the TAP. Those are basically, if you are a commuter and you have middle to high amount of Pell and TAP, you may not even have to pay anything, because they would cover all your tuition and fees, but only as a commuter. If you're on campus, you definitely have to take out the loans.
Awesome, thank you so much. Another question that is frequently asked is, are there programs that teach students how to be financially responsible?
Well, we have the Smart Money Seawolves, where we try to teach students exactly about being educated on loans, on their personal life outside the school. And also, if a student asks, here we are more than happy to help anyone if they have any questions.
Awesome, thank you so much. Let's see. And then another question is about delegated access and how long it takes to be granted. If students have, either parents or families that are helping pay. Do you have any other information to provide on that?
Sure. So the delegated access process is very quick. After the student enters the email address or email addresses of all of the delegated users they want, and you can have up to 10, those delegated users get an email. It's very important that they know the email is coming, because then they need to complete a very quick one-step process in order to gain access. So after they've completed the process, it's usually a few hours, 24 hours at most, for the system to update. But you can have up to 10, and they need to be aware that there's a step on their end they have to complete.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, I would just like to add that for financial aid, we could only speak to the student or the parent, whomever shows up on the FAFSA. If the parent is, even if the parents are not divorced, they're living together, but only one parent was listed, that's the only parent we can speak with. So it's whomever shows up on the FAFSA, those are the only ones we are allowed by federal law to talk to.
Yeah, thank you for that. Are there any other last minute questions that y'all want to pop in the Q&A before we sign off? Looks like there's a couple questions in the chat if either of you want to speak to that.
For the person who was asking about the reevaluation, we have a process called a reevaluation. We won't start until the end of the month, beginning of July. Okay. And if those students, the FAFSA is based on the 2020 tax return. So if the income was drastically reduced from 2020 till now, we can do a reevaluation and we will be able to determine if the student is eligible for anything. However, if the student is already at the maximum they can get, unfortunately, there's nothing else we can do. If they have the maximum Pell, we cannot go over that maximum, or the maximum loans, we cannot go over that maximum.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. If you want to drop any contact information for your office in the chat for students and supporters to potentially reach out to in the future, feel free. But if we want to, hang on a couple more minutes, I'm happy to hang on. But thank you all so much for coming. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to put them in the chat before you head off.